Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 267 based on novel. So let's start. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the world. Bolts of thunder descended before Wang Lin, and those tens of thousands of illusory shadows all collapsed. Ju Chian's eyes flashed as his hands formed a seal and he pointed to between his eyebrows. Black lines appeared as he shouted, "Soul, kill!" The moment he said those two words, a black pattern seemed to come out from his face. A black ring immediately appeared above his head and spread like crazy. It spread too fast and closed in on Wang Lin's body in an instant. Wang Lin didn't even dodge, he closed in on Ju Chian. The moment the black ring touched Wang Lin's body, it turned into countless thin threads and entered Wang Lin's body. However, before they could get deep inside, they all shattered with one shake from Wang Lin. Wang Lin's speed didn't slow down at all. He arrived before Ju Chian and threw a punch. Ju Chian's expression changed as he slapped his bag of holding while he retreated. A ball of purple light appeared in his hand and he immediately crushed it. The purple light immediately surrounded Ju Chian. As popping sounds echoed, the purple light collapsed and Ju Chian's body retreated even faster. As Ju Chian retreated, Wang Lin took a step and merged with the world. When Wang Lin reappeared, he was next to Ju Chian, and he kicked with his right foot. This kick was so fast that it set off a bang that seemed loud enough to shatter the stars. It landed on Ju Chian's body in an instant. Ju Chian's body collapsed immediately after the bang. It turned into a mist of blood, but laughter came from the void. Purple shadows immediately rushed out from the void toward Wang Lin. "I, Ju Chian, will take this body." As the feminine voice echoed, those purple shadows immediately entered Wang Lin's body like crazy and charged toward his origin soul. However, just as these purple shadows got near Wang Lin's origin soul opened its eyes. The ancient god leather armor gave off an ancient aura that fused with Wang Lin's origin soul. This formed an unimaginable backlash. The moment the purple shadows charged in to take over the origin soul, they collided with this backlash. There were miserable screams. It was as if those shadows had met their natural enemy and wanted to leave Wang Lin's body. However, just as they were about to charge out, Wang Lin's origin soul arrived. The ancient thunder dragon origin soul opened its mouth and inhaled. Some of the shadows weren't able to escape and were devoured by Wang Lin. The Wang Lin was currently surrounded by purple gas. More purple gas was charging out and condensing into an illusionary figure 100 feet from him. "Let's use you to test the power of my spell." Wang Lin's right hand formed a seal and he calmly said, "Magic arsenal." A sliver of celestial origin energy came out from Wang Lin's celestial core and gathered in his right hand. It formed an orb of golden light that Wang Lin threw out. It was as if golden specks had filled the world. At this instant, the entire space itself trembled and the countless golden specks turned into illusory shadows. This was the first time Wang Lin had used magic arsenal. All those shadows were people killed by Wang Lin. They couldn't enter the reincarnation cycle and were imprisoned in the 18 layers of hell. Now that they appeared, an extremely powerful resentment aura filled the world. Every single person killed by Wang Lin was filled with heaven-shaking resentment. Ju Chian looked at everything before him. His mind trembled and shock filled his eyes. Although those illusory figures couldn't pose a threat to Ju Chian, a portion of them made him gasp. There was a person who had a gloomy expression and was surrounded by black mist. The figure sometimes revealed itself and gave off a powerful sense of resentment. There was a powerful fluctuation coming from this person. Nirvana Scryer Cultivator. Ju Chian's expression became gloomy after he looked around. There were hundreds of celestial souls in the surroundings. The rich celestial spiritual energy and resentment combined could slaughter the heavens. The moment Ju Chian saw the celestials, disbelief filled his eyes and he cried, These are souls of celestials." He had spent his life learning the Tao of Soul, so he was able to recognize them at a glance. There was also that Yao family soul that gave off rich killing intent. What kind of spell is this? It's too terrifying. It was able to imprison so many souls and didn't allow them to enter the reincarnation cycle. This is clearly a demonic spell. This scene shocked Ju Chian's mind and made his shock reach a peak. However, what happened after was what really made him lose his wits. He heard a beast-like roar come from the countless shadows. All the shadows seemed to be extremely afraid of it and opened up a path. A red mist charged out, and no shadow dared to block its path. As the red mist churned, it revealed one person. This person looked middle-aged, he had a head of red hair, and his expression was ferocious. An indescribable sense of killing intent was spreading from his body as if he was going to reverse the heavens. The moment this red-haired person appeared, Ju Chian was startled for a moment. Then he felt an unimaginable amount of fear and terror that he had never felt before. Planet Chen Yun's blood ancestor. Ju Chian's scalp went numb and he immediately retreated without any hesitation. He discarded any thought of killing Shu Mu. It was not that he didn't want to kill, but he couldn't. Although he was at the mid-stage of Nirvana Scrya, this Shu Mu was too strange. Due to his insight, he immediately knew that one had to kill the person themselves in order to imprison the soul for their own use. And he also knew the blood ancestor, and due to this shock, his heart immediately became timid. Blood ancestor is a Nirvana cleanser cultivator, but he was killed by Shu Mu. I can't resist this person at all, I must escape. Wang Lin pointed at Ju Chian and calmly said, pull this person into the 18 layers of hell. After he spoke, frenzied roars came out from the souls. In particular, the blood ancestor was surrounded by a monstrous red mist and immediately closed in on Ju Chian. Ju Chian's face turned pale and he immediately retreated. However, at this moment, the Yao family member and the hundreds of celestials surrounded him. They completely sealed off Ju Chian's path of retreat. There were countless soul fragments surrounding the outer rim. They were all letting out waves of cries. Ju Chian's eyes were almost filled with madness. He had spent his life learning the Tao of Souls, and at this moment, he let out a roar and his hands formed a seal. He pointed at his chest and his body immediately collapsed. Countless illusory shadows fled in all directions. Since Ju Chian's soul Tao had almost reached completion, his body no longer existed. Even his origin soul had been fused with his soul. Only by doing this could he truly display his killing moves. Even if someone had a higher cultivation level than him, if they weren't careful, they would fall to his sneak attacks. However, he complained in his heart. Originally, he wanted to possess Wang Lin, but due to the ancient god leather armor, he was repelled and injured slightly. Normally, this wouldn't be an issue, but he didn't expect Wang Lin's origin soul to be so fierce and directly devour his soul. As a result, he had to retreat, but just as he left Wang Lin's body and was about to use a spell, he saw a spell that made him lose his wits. At this moment, his heart was anxious and he split into countless pieces and wanted to flee. However, the blood ancestor grinned and was surrounded by blood mist. He along with the hundreds of celestials and the Yao family member charged out. There were waves of miserable screams, and the blood ancestor seemed to become a primal beast as he grabbed a large amount of Ju Chian's shadows and dragged them into the mist. The surrounding hundreds of celestials did the same. In almost an instant, all of Ju Chian's shadows were captured. None was able to escape. Cold wind blew across the stars and countless souls wandered the area. The resentment in the area was monstrous. Wang Lin was calmly observing from the side. He had gained some understanding of Magic Arsenal's power. He raised his right hand and pointed up. A giant vortex appeared and all the souls were sucked into it. The only one different was the blood ancestor. His eyes flashed red and he charged directly at Wang Lin after letting out a roar. There was a flash of killing intent in Wang Lin's eyes as his right hand formed a fist and he threw a punch. There was loud bang and the blood ancestor's origin soul paused for a moment. Using this pause, Wang Lin used more celestial origin energy to make the vortex speed up, increasing its suction force. The blood ancestor's soul let out an unwilling cry as he was sucked back in. The vortex in the stars slowly disappeared before turning back into a ray of light and being swallowed by Wang Lin. In the 18 layers of hell, there was now an extra soul in the 13th layer. Although this soul fragment was on the 13th layer, it was at the peak of 13th layer. He was Ju Chian. After killing Ju Chian, Wang Lin calmly looked at 11 Zifeng before withdrawing his gaze and going on his way. Ta Shan followed behind, and the big-headed boy no longer found any of this strange. As for Lei Ji, he quickly followed Wang Lin into the distant stars. As 11 Zifeng pondered, she also followed. As they moved, Wang Lin began to ponder. The battle between the Alliance and All Heaven has reached a high point. This is the moment to rack up some achievements to appease Master Flamespark's heart. I need to obtain more prestige among the All Heaven cultivators. That way, if I encounter the All-Seer or if Dual Sen escapes from the land of the ancient god, then Master Flamespark will have to help. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he made up his mind. However, he wasn't optimistic about All Heaven's offensive against the Alliance. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and a small flag appeared. There was a flying tiger pattern on this flag. After Wang Lin raised it, the flying tiger rushed out and let out a roar that shook the stars. Activating the flying tiger flag and releasing the flying tiger meant Wang Lin had announced his own presence. As he moved, dozens of rays of sword energy appeared in the distance a short moment later. There were two groups fighting, and it was obvious the All Heaven side was losing. The other side was filled with killing intent and continued to cast spells. It only took a few breaths of time for an All Heaven cultivator to die. These 7 or 8 All Heaven cultivators' eyes were filled with despair. They were injured by the shockwave earlier and were too exhausted to escape. Just at this moment, a tiger's roar came from the distance and a powerful divine sense spread out. The All Heaven cultivators were startled, then they looked back and revealed indescribable joy. Thunder Celestial Shu Mu. It is Thunder Celestial Shu Mu. The Alliance cultivators had received information from their elders. One of the old men had apparently seen information about Shu Mu. His expression changed and a flash of coldness appeared in his eyes. He retreated without hesitation and shouted, "This Shu Mu is a Nirvana Scryer cultivator. We are no match. Quickly, retreat." In another direction, 3 cultivators were fighting, and it was a stalemate. All 3 were illusory yin cultivators, but if one looked closer, one would see 2 All Heaven cultivators fighting 1 Alliance cultivator. The Alliance cultivator was very ruthless, and he was able to remain very calm even while fighting 1 vs 2. Just at this moment, a tiger's roar came from the distance. One of the All Heaven cultivators cautiously spread out his divine sense backwards and was immediately startled. Shu Mu. Not only did he know Shu Mu, but he was someone Wang Lin had saved in the Thunder Celestial realm. The Alliance cultivator that was battling them was startled. The name, Shu Mu, was familiar, and after pondering for a bit, his expression changed greatly. The Alliance had sent information about the All Heaven cultivators to his sect. They separated the All Heaven cultivators into 7 levels. Level 1 was the weakest, and level 7 was the strongest. He remembered that this Shu Mu was at level 5. He retreated without any hesitation. Along the way, Wang Lin encountered a large number of cultivators. When the All Heaven cultivators saw Wang Lin and the flying tiger, they quickly approached. Waves of "Greetings, Thunder Celestial" came from the cultivators who came toward Wang Lin. In their eyes, Wang Lin was a bright beacon during their moment of confusion. The collapse of the western region had sent a vast majority of the All Heaven cultivators into panic. There were a lot of deaths, and those who survived were scattered. At the same time, the appearance of the Alliance cultivators made the situation worse for the All Heaven cultivators. Right now, Wang Lin's flying tiger flag was the anchor for their hearts. The roars coming from the flying tiger made the All Heaven cultivators' minds tremble. Wang Lin's attitude also changed from before. If he encountered 2 sides fighting, he would immediately attack. A large amount of All Heaven cultivators had gathered around Wang Lin. These people formed a very powerful force. Most of the time, Wang Lin didn't even need to personally act. The All Heaven cultivators following him would charge out and destroy the enemy. More and more All Heaven cultivators gradually gathered around Wang Lin. The sword energies under their feet made them look like a giant sword stabbing into the western region. Wang Lin's group of cultivators wasn't the only group in the western region. The Thunder Celestial Temple messengers, the other 108 Celestial, and some cultivation families were doing the same. However, Wang Lin's team of cultivators had the most people. As he moved forward, more people constantly joined until there were hundreds of rays of sword energy flying through space. The sound of the flying swords and the roar of the flying tiger continued to spread. Wang Lin's reputation quickly reached a certain height. Just as the group of cultivators with Wang Lin charged into the center of the western region, the space suddenly began to shake mysteriously. Ripples were rushing over from the distance like crazy. There was an aura that shook one's mind within the ripples. Even the sword lights under the feet of the cultivators around Wang Lin became unstable. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he spread out his divine sense. Even with his mental strength, he couldn't help but be startled. Bursts of loud rumbles echoed. In the distance, a 100,000 feet long and 10,000 feet wide giant piece of wood carrying a force that could shake any normal cultivator charged forward with unimaginable force. Countless all-heaven cultivators were surrounding this giant piece of wood. They gave off powerful killing intent. What shocked Wang Lin was the rich smell of blood that he could clearly feel even from this far away. It was obvious that countless people had died to the impact of this giant piece of wood. Wang Lin had never seen this giant piece of wood before. He only took a look at it, but he could feel an unimaginable shock. He clearly knew that if he was hit by the giant piece of wood, he would immediately be seriously injured. If he was just a bit careless, he could even die, unless he knew in advance and escaped by merging with the world. Although this giant piece of wood could cause Wang Lin's mind to tremble, it wouldn't have startled him. What really startled Wang Lin was the thing behind the giant piece of wood. Moongazer Serpent. The Moongazer Serpent's giant body was like a cultivation planet, and its countless tentacles were swaying around it. Its constant angry roars echoed among the stars. The moment Wang Lin saw the Moongazer Serpent, his body trembled. This tremble came from his ancient god body. The shaking from his original body made Wang Lin's eyes lit up. The ancient god stars between his eyebrows flickered. He took a deep breath and suppressed this trembling, and the ancient god stars no longer flashed. Staring at the Moongazer Serpent with countless swaying tentacles in the distance, Wang Lin was extremely shocked. Back then, I borrowed the Moongazer Serpent to kill the Yao family and hid inside its body. I thought that someone in all heaven knew something about the Moongazer Serpent. What kind of person could capture the Moongazer Serpent and send into the Alliance as a weapon? Could it be him? Wang Lin gasped and thought of the figure he had seen twice. The first time was during the battle between Qing Shui and Blood God. The second time was during the 108 celestial bestowments where he tore open the passage between the two star systems. At this moment, the whistling sound of the giant piece of wood before the Moongazer Serpent became louder and louder. As the ripples closed in, the cultivators behind Wang Lin began to cheer. At the same time, these cultivators immediately flew forward. Wang Lin hesitated for a bit before moving forward and charging toward the giant piece of wood. This giant piece of wood was too large even from far away. When they closed in, they felt its powerful impact along with its majestic pressure. Countless cultivators stepped on various treasures and followed the giant piece of wood. There were also cultivators on the giant piece of wood. However, not many were standing on it. There weren't even 100 cultivators on the wood. The two that stood at the front of those cultivators on the giant piece of wood were the Zhong family ancestor, Li Yunzi, and the Shengong family ancestor. The two of them stood at the front of the giant piece of wood. Their clothes moved without any wind, their eyes were like lightning, and their gazes were cold. Behind them were the rest of the cultivators. Most of them were the 108 Celestials, but there were also some Wang Lin had not seen before. However, from the fluctuations of their origin souls, Wang Lin could see that these people were not weak. They were at the peak of the corporeal yang stage. There were 10 people at the Nirvana Scrya stage. In addition to these 10 people, there were 3 more people that caught Wang Lin's attention. One of them was sitting on the right side of the giant piece of wood. He was wearing a black robe and had white hair. There were several scars on his face that were extremely strange. They weren't static, They seemed to subtly move. Just one glance at them was enough to make someone gasp. The moment Wang Lin's gaze landed on the old man's eyes lit up and he looked at Wang Lin. He revealed a smile filled with cold intent. Another person that caught Wang Lin's attention was a woman. This woman was graceful, pretty as a spring peach, and pure like the autumn chrysanthemum. She was about 30 years old, her eyes were filled with spirit, and her beautiful nose was straight. She had a small indent on her cheek, her skin was white, and her eyes contained a hint of the ocean's blue. She was standing on the giant piece of wood and was wearing a light green palace dress with a thin layer of golden silk. Her white clothes had purple pattern on them, and her 3,000 strands of black hair were simply hanging behind her head, with some around her neck. There was a small red gem at the center of her forehead that embellished her look just right. She was very beautiful. Without any makeup, her skin glowed and was as white as snow. It gave off a creamy color and was like a delicate flower. Maybe it was due to the giant piece of wood moving too fast, but there was some wind that caused her thin silk to flow in the air. It made her look like a fairy. After seeing Wang Lin's gaze, she gracefully smiled at Wang Lin. However, this smile contained a sense of nobility, as if no one could reach her. The last person was a youth. He had a white shirt and was surrounded by 3 bamboo flutes that gave off strange flute sounds. From a distance, the sound of the flute seemed to turn corporeal and formed an illusion around the youth. It was easy for one to lose their heart inside this illusion. The youth didn't even care about Wang Lin's gaze at all. He focused on cultivating with his eyes closed and was filled with arrogance. The reason these 3 people had caught Wang Lin's attention was because Wang Lin couldn't see through their cultivation. As Wang Lin observed the people on the piece of wood, the cultivators on the piece of wood also looked at Wang Lin. Given Wang Lin's reputation in the all-heaven star system, it didn't take long for them to recognize Wang Lin. Not to mention there was also the roar of the flying tiger behind him. They followed the giant piece of wood, and along the way, they saw some all-heaven cultivators. However, they were only a few dozen people at most, and they were in extremely sorry states. At this moment, the team Wang Lin had gathered was hundreds of people large. This caused all the cultivators around the giant piece of wood to look at Wang Lin. It was obvious that it was due to Shu Mu's presence that there were so many cultivators here. Thunder Celestial Shu Mu. He was Shu Mu, the hero of the Celestial Bestowment competition. Even Planet Donglin's Shu Ting was beaten, and Shu Mu became the Thunder Celestial. I just don't know if Shu Mu is qualified to step onto the giant wood. Many gazes fell on Wang Lin. Any of them hadn't seen Wang Lin, so their impressions were only from what they had seen of the competition in the sound transmission sound their families had. Wang Lin's expression didn't change at all from so many people watching him. He was very calm. Shu Mu, come to this old man. Li Yunzi naturally saw Wang Lin. The coldness on his face melted a bit and he revealed a smile. Wang Lin nodded and charged toward the giant wood. The impact from the giant wood created a great deal of resistance, and Wang Lin felt like he was in mud. After realizing this, his expression was calm and the origin energy in his body slowed down until it was almost motionless. Then, at the next instant, it exploded. It went from being still to max in an instant. This change caused a powerful momentum to explode from Wang Lin's body. It also caused a rumble around him that could collapse the heavens. Boom! As the violent sound echoed, the space before Wang Lin suddenly whisked. Everything before him quickly collapsed as he calmly walked forward. Wang Lin arrived near the roaring wood and stepped onto it without any resistance. At this instant, all the eyes of all the cultivators around the giant wood narrowed. Although they all knew how fierce Wang Lin was, personally witnessing it had shocked them. Wang Lin didn't know that stepping on the giant wood represented an extremely high status. As long as one believed they were qualified, they could attempt to step onto the giant wood. However, very few people were able to step onto the giant wood. Even most of the people on the giant wood had used magic treasures along with spells to barely be able to step on after painstaking effort. Even so, none of the surrounding cultivators dared to underestimate those people. Anyone who could step on the giant wood was strong. However, a huge wave was set off in the hearts of the surrounding tens of thousands of cultivators when Wang Lin stepped onto the giant wood. Wang Lin was able to just casually step onto the giant wood without any effort at all. From what they had seen, aside from Li Yunzi and the Shengong family ancestor, only 3 others were able to step onto the giant wood so easily. Wang Lin was the 4th person. Thunder Celestial Shu Mu, indeed worthy of the fame. At that instant, similar thoughts appeared in the surrounding cultivators. The people on the giant wood all looked at Wang Lin. All these gazes were different. Some of them were part of the celestial bestowment, so they already admired Wang Lin. As for the people who hadn't met Wang Lin, their minds were shaken and they finally understood Wang Lin's fierceness. The youth with 3 bamboo flutes suddenly opened his eyes and carefully looked at Wang Lin. He nodded but didn't speak. The woman in the palace dress smiled even more. As for the old man in black, the way he looked at Wang Lin changed slightly. The 3 of them had high cultivation levels, they were at the late stage of Nirvana Scrya, so they had better vision than everyone else. They could tell at a glance that what Wang Lin did was extraordinary. This explosion of power wasn't only origin energy, there was also a hint of law. The 3 of them clearly saw this point and placed more importance on Wang Lin. Although his cultivation was weaker than them, but they considered him on the same level. After all, not many Nirvana Scrya cultivators comprehend law. Strength rules supreme in the cultivation world. If you want recognition of others, then you must reach the same level as them. Standing beside Li Yunzi, Wang Lin respectfully said, "Shu Mu greets Senior Li Yunzi." After he spoke, he turned around and clasped his hands at the Shengong family ancestor. Li Yunzi faintly smiled. Just as he was about to speak, his expression changed. Behind the giant wood, the moongazer serpent with countless swaying tentacles suddenly began to roar as if it had gone crazy. Its eyes alternated between confusion and clarity as it stared at Wang Lin on the giant wood. Its roars became even stronger. The powerful sound waves echoed, causing the expressions of the cultivators around the giant wood to change greatly and their minds to tremble. Wang Lin turned around and coldly looked at the moongazer serpent. Wang Lin wasn't surprised that the moongazer serpent recognized him. He understood the moongazer serpent very well, that it had a strong memory of people who had made it mad. It obviously remembered Wang Lin, who had provoked it twice. As it raged, it was about to charge out. The tentacles around it extended like crazy toward the giant wood. Li Yunzi frowned and his right hand reached toward the void. A rift opened up and a green jade flew out. This jade was very ordinary, there was nothing abnormal about it. Li Yunzi grabbed it and threw it at the moongazer serpent. It was so fast that it closed in on the moongazer serpent in an instant. The jade collapsed and a thunderous voice echoed. "Zunyun go." This sound was very strange and extremely complex. No surrounding cultivator could understand it. But Wang Lin's heart was shocked as this was the language of the ancient gods. After understanding the meaning behind it, even with Wang Lin's mental strength, his expression couldn't help but change. This video will end here.